For our games today, we have, it looks like Marcus in first seat, Nathaniel in second seat, Chris in third seat, and Caleb in fourth seat. Now our first seat looks like it will be in your top left, so that's the first seat in this matchup today that we're bringing to you. And we'll get you some deck list information here, but we want to make sure that all of our players are ready to go. They resolve their mulligans. We're ready to start this game. We appreciate everybody coming out and tuning in to our MindBreak events. We only have one microphone today. It's just the microphone in the booth. We appreciate everybody coming out to our first event. We're incredibly grateful for this play space that Tricky Shorten Games has allowed us to have today. We have our L1 Judge Joel here for this event, making sure that everything runs smoothly. And we put a lot of work in over the last few days to make sure that everything is ready to go for this stream. So we hope you guys are excited. We hope you guys have a good time as we can start talking about some of these decks here. Looks like in your fourth seat we have cEDH from Caleb here. And your third seat we have, looks like a Timna and Crom, little altar there, but we got a Timna Crom going on for Chris in the bottom right. Looks like on a mold of 5. In your top right, Nathaniel, who looks to be on Dargo Timna, commonly known Dardu. So Nathaniel will be on that. Looks like another mulligan to 5. And then in your top right, your seat 1 is a Thras Roger list. So we'll see how this shakes out with all of our players. Looks like the only person that is resolving a mulligan here is your fourth seat in the bottom left. Looks like everybody has the rest of their starting hands together. If the microphone is too loud or too quiet, just let me know. I can turn it up for sure. We haven't been able to test the stream out in terms of audio quality. We've just been made sure that this has been working, but we're excited to bring it to you. If there's any problems with the stream, please let us know. We'll get that fixed as soon as possible. Looks like we're finishing our mulligan resolution from our fourth seat player Caleb on cEDH. And let's talk about the list. Let's talk about the cEDH. In a world where people are turboing cEDH, mid-ranging cEDH, there's a lot of things you can do with this 5-color commander that for Woober can search a legendary permanent. We have our player right here on a nice Planeswalker build with Dahada, Tyvar, and Teferi, which is not necessarily a correct answer, as there's a lot of people doing a lot of things these days with the cEDH list, but a few key features, we have the Spider Woman that artifacts and creatures enter tapped. We have Deadpool, and of course the new card for cEDH, Tam, Mindful First Year, 2 mana, 2/2, but each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colors, and it can target a creature to give it all 5 colors. Okay, I have a pop filter on right now, so it might just not be super great. As we get to our turn 1 here, it looks like we have, I think that's a Taiga, looks like a Taiga, and then into a Green Sun for a Dry Arbor from our seat 1 player, Roger Thras. Our seat 2, Dargo Timna, is going to play a Shocked Blood Crypt into Greedy Freebooter, that when it dies you scry 1, make a treasure. Our seat 3 player Chris is going to go ahead and search up with, I believe that's a, testing my card knowledge on Expedition lands. They're so hard to read. Let's say Polluted Delta. into a Tundra, into an Esper Sentinel. And that'll be the turn from them. Yeah, we're not having a player mic today. If that's something that we're able to do in the future. But right now we just got the mic in the booth, so we'll just have to pay extra close attention here and make sure our players know to sort of be a little extra animated with their pointings and all their dealings here. As our cEDH plays a scrub land with a Mox Amber and a pass. Down there in seat 4, they'll create one full turn cycle as we now go to turn 2. Our seat 1 player, again, Roger Thrasios. Looks like a volcanic island's going to come down for them, and we'll see where that goes. 2 creatures, 3 lands. A lot of stuff they can get here. Looks like we're just going to go ahead and get Thrasios out there. Nice 1/3/4 mana activate ability to scry 1, reveal the top card. If it's a land, put it into play, tapped, and then otherwise draw a card. So solid start for a seat 1 player. No crazy turbo going on around here, but just a nice respectful game of Magic, although this Dargo Tymna deck might want to switch up that expectation here as we see a draw on the turn 2. In our top right, Simian Spirit Guide will be the exile for a red to play a Soul Ring. And it looks like we have an Esper Sentinel trigger. Bang, draw from our seat 3 player, Chris. And that looks to be maybe a Culling of the Week. Taking the greedy freebooter out. We'll have to take a better look at what that card is here. Do believe that is Culling of the Week, so we'll have 4 black mana, a scry trigger, and a treasure were made off of the greedy freebooter sacrifice. And here's 5 mana, and I spoke too soon. I did say we weren't having any turbo right at the moment. Well, just another turn later for our seat 2, top right, Dargo Tymna. We have Ad Nauseam. So we'll have to see if this resolves as the table goes around and talks about. This deck is a pretty lean, mean Ad Nauseam machine around here, not boasting a whole lot of spells even at the 3 mana slot. We have a handful of 3s and 4s, Simian Spirit Guide among them, as we have seen. But there is an issue here, as we do have the ability to flip Peer, which is a 7 mana spell. As we start the flips, we see a Wheel of Fortune, Mana Vault. That's going to continue ticking down the life total of our seat 2 player, who is currently in their main phase. Necropotence, Deadpool, card that will switch tech boxes with another creature. Bergie, Esper Sentinel, down to 22 life they go. Vexing Bobble, down to 21. Chromatic Star, filter for mana, draw a card, and that might be where we stop here. Nope, we're going to keep going. Let's keep. Ooh, that's a big hit. Bolas Citadel, 6 mana. Is a huge hit. Now we see a land finally. Now we see that Dustmourn card. Ancient Tomb among them, Badlands. Fetch land, Aaron Mesa, Ragavan. The Dustmourn card, by the way, is the Jolly Balloon Man, which is a key part of this player's preferred combo line for this Dargo Tymna list, as we're at 8 mana. Let's see, Hopegi Rapport here. Correction, not 8 mana, 8 life, but Hopegi Rapport will put us down to 7 with 2 mana floating. Here's a Badlands. No land for turn played by this player yet. A Gemstone Caverns, a Chrome Mox. A Professional Facebreaker at 3 mana puts our player down to 4 life. Do they venture further? I would suggest probably not. This has been such an early Ad Nauseam, and it looks to be shaping up for a very, very quick game here, as there are just so many pieces here, as I think that does break the Ad Nauseam, and our top right Dargo Tymna player will stop there. Can we see a turn 2 win from our player? Well, we have a Jolly Balloon Man, we have a Deadpool that can probably be exiled to Chrome Mox if I were to take a guess, because it's not doing a whole lot right here, unless you want to make infinite mana somehow and be able to copy the Thrasios, which I can't imagine is the case here, although they certainly can make a bunch of mana. Again, a handful of rocks in the hand, Mana Vault Chrome Mox among them. We have a couple of lands in there, including, I believe, one of the duels and one of the fetches to get Plateau. The one duel I did see was Scrubland that I remember seeing. And it will be a Badlands, and here comes down a Chrome Mox. Esper Sentinel was pointed to, but should not trigger, as we've already cast the Culling the Week here to sacrifice for 4 mana. There are definitely some ways that this player can put a lot down on the board. I'm not exactly sure. I think we're just deciding with the Chrome Mox resolution, the imprint trigger on the stack here. So our C2 player is just going to take a second and go through their hands. So let's look at a couple of heavy hitters here. Professional Facebreaker among them. Necropotence was also one. Looks like Necropotence will be the exile underneath the Chrome Mox, making just black. I don't know if that was a sign for a pass a turn, but I can't imagine that that would be the case here. We still have 2, 3, 4 mana. This is the first game. Thank you for tuning in. We are here, game 1. We are in turn 2. The top right corner is your seat 2 player, Nathaniel Ondargo Timna, and they started off this turn with a Culling the Week into Ad Nauseam. So here we go now. We'll use one of the floating black mana into a Mana Vault. Now this Dargo is looking scary. And we're going to make 3 colorless with the Mana Vault, so potentially a Dargo coming down now. We do have a lot of ways in order to continue pushing this game forward. Here's 2 mana plus 1. That'll be Bergie on the front end. So now anything played will net an additional 1 mana after the fact. You still have to pay the cost. The Bergie trigger does not go until something has been casted. So hopefully our players certainly understand. It looks like we might be taking into account Storm or something along those lines. Just making sure that everything's been played so that all of our players understand what's going on here in this game. We have a Bergie come down, so we have at least a Vexing Bauble that can filter colorless into a red. Ragavan can definitely do it. That'll just filter itself. So here's your Chromatic Star. That's actually a big boon. I did forget they flipped Chromatic Star. So Chromatic Star will filter that colorless into a red, be able to crack that red into another color, potentially. Okay, we'll go red for Vexing Bauble back into a red, so we're net 0 still. So 1 floating mana with a treasure and a Chrome Mox available. That's 3 mana. There's an ability to be filtered with the Chromatic Star here. Vexing Bauble can be cracked to draw a card, but I don't recall any to the top tutors from that Ad Nauseam. Hope of Girapur, so another pseudo silence effect. Sacrifice, and then until the next player, until your next turn, target player who is dealt damage by Hope cannot cast non-creature spells. Also a Ragavan. So we're just putting out 1 mana cards. It looks like potentially our seat 2 Dargo Timna player could be pushing the win here with just what he's thrown out. So here comes a Mana Vault. Let's remember that Dargo is 6 in a red for a 7/5, but he costs 2 less to cast for each creature and or artifact that is sacrificed along the way. So here goes Star. Here goes Vault. And some mana put into it for the red off the Badlands. So we'll have to see what the play here is now for this Dargo. Not too much on-board presence outside of the Bergie, but still an ability to do a whole lot of things. There is still Treasure 1 and Chrome Box available for our player here. And looks like only a handful of cards in hand. Might be deciding what to key. Might be trying to pass the turn here if they do not think that there is a whole lot they can do. But there is a good amount of stuff here still ready to work. Although the Hope-A-Gear Report and the Ragavan do not have haste, and neither does Dargo. So no attacks will be able to land this turn. And it looks like we will be going to the cleanup step. No discard to Burgie, that will be the backside. So a handful of lands, Bolas Citadel, and looks like we will lose the one in the pool. So 2 mana with the treasure and the Chrome Box up. And we will see how the rest of our players will respond. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that's an easy board state to win the game from or lose the game from, but I will say that 4 life is not a lot. You know, one misstep here can really change the course of the game. Certainly. Now it looks like our seat 3 player in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, after a long and explosive turn from our top right seat 2 player, Dargo Tymna, our Tymna Crom player in the bottom right hand corner of your screen will take their turn, they'll play a land, they'll fetch. Looks like they'll bring out a Badlands, and we'll see how this turn is going to go. The explosiveness of Dargo Tymna is certainly a long documented play pattern that a lot of people have been pushing themselves towards in the era of mid-range or turbo being sort of the default options for a lot of people. Our players that do choose to play Dargo Tymna do get the ability to go fast with a lot of silence effects, a lot of mana effects, and a lot of things to do when creatures or artifacts hit the graveyard. Unfortunately, our C2 player was not quite as lucky as he would have liked to be, as our seat 3 player will play a Badlands off the fetch into a Soul Ring into a Mana Vault and pass the turn over to our seat 4 player in cEDH, who will just play a Mountain Doom and pass the turn. Mountain Doom is an important card for cEDH, but here at this moment doesn't do a whole lot. Looks like only 2 or 3 cards left in the hand of our seat 4 player, so pretty brutal mulligan for them, as I'm very confident saying that our seat 1 player on Roger Thrasios did in fact keep a full grip of 7. So let's see what plays are made here. We have a Volcanic Island. Okay, it's like Volcanic Island, Taiga, and Tropical Island was the play for turn. So we got 3 creatures, 4 lands, 2 commanders. Let's see where this is going to go. So back here on our turn 3 at our MindBreak Magic cEDH event here at Tricky's Cards and Games in Kathleen, Georgia, we're sitting here waiting for our seat 1 player on their first turn 3, the first turn 3 of the entire game here. We'll continue to see maybe how they can push, maybe not wanting to let the board get back to our Dargo Tymna player, but not a lot of attacks able to come in. I would be impressed if that was the case here. A lot of blockers on the board of our Dargo Tymna, no Crom to be cast by our seat 3 player Tymna Crom. And it looks like Kinnan. I think that's Final Fantasy Art Kinnan, as that will come in to play for 2 mana. Here's 2 from, well, I guess it's a land permanent, so that'll be 1. 2. I think the player Might have been a mistake here with the amount of mana tapped on the Dryad Arbor, so we'll see if we can't. We'll see if we can't get that fixed here. Unless I am wrong, but we'll definitely have someone go take a look. So we got a lot of things going on here. Alright, so we're going to get that talked about here hopefully before anything gets too far gone. But we can always fix things as long as we have the board state represented correctly. But I think the intention was here to play the Kinnan and cast the Enduring Innocence. That just doesn't work out quite correctly here. I think it would have to be Enduring Innocence first if our players would be able, would want to cast the Kinnan still. Yes, it would have to be Enduring Innocence first, and then onto Kinnan, and then 2 mana, so not being able to resolve the Tezzeret here. So a big swing in what is able to be happening here. So we're just going to back that up and make sure all of our players are aware of what's going on. But as we talk about our feature match area here at MindBreak Magic cEDH tournament hosted at Tricky's Cards and Games in Kathleen, Georgia, we appreciate everybody being here on stream in person. It's our first large event that we've put on ourselves, so we do appreciate the large amount of support that we've been having. And if you're here either on the live stream or post in coverage later, we do appreciate everything that's happened with our players. We appreciate everyone showing out. We appreciate you letting us know what you think, as our chat is pointing out I made a mistake on Enduring Innocence for Enduring Vitality. That's true. That is a skill issue by me. So our players here looks like they're going to back the board up. Looks like they're shaking the table a little bit. Our judge is in there right now, adjudicating that. But let's talk about some of these deck lists here. Let's talk about, again, our Seat 1, Roger Thrasios. As you saw, trying to go for what was going on with the Tezzeret, and trying to abuse that line a little bit. And a couple of good 1-drops here. 1 or 0 drop is pretty much everything that's in this list for artifacts. Yeah, some heaters like Candelabra, Springleaf Drum, Man of All Expedition Map, Soul Ring, but you also got your usual classics: Chrome Mox, Lotus Petal Mox, Amber Mox, Diamond will be pretty standard to see. So we're definitely through all of that, as looks like we have the Kinnan back on the stack, as our judge has been walking around adjudicating games and making sure that all the board states are nice and clean, as we once again have that happening here. So we're going to make sure post Kinnan we can understand how the board state is going to progress. So there's already a handful of cards here that we do know is in the hand of our Seat 1 Thrasios Roger player. We have the Tezzeret, we have the Enduring Vitality. looks like it'll just be a pass of the turn to our Seat 2 Dargo player. Dargo Timna here. And it looks like Hopa Girapor probably, let's say, looks like TNK, Timna Krom, and Ragavan over to Sisay will reveal a Swords to Plowshares while making a treasure for our Dargo Timna player. The ability at instant speed to sacrifice Hope of Girapor will neuter our Seat 3 player's ability to cast non-creature spells until our Dargo Timna player's next turn. And it looks like that will just happen now. We'll go ahead and put that ability on the stack now. See how that goes. So looks like a silence on the stack here from the Scrubland. Esper Sentinel will trigger. I think it's pretty fair to assume that the Hopa Girapor trigger has already resolved, as there was not a whole lot going on. So a silence to the board, and our Dargo Timna player is going to be able to take free reign with their ability to manipulate the deck in their favor with their large amounts of artifact and creature abuse here with Dargo. Looks like we're just making some mana 2 from the Soul Ring to 3 red, or correction, 3 black from our lands plus Chrome Mox, and looks like it will be Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing Vexing Bauble. Well, that's a pretty good play. We already have a silence on top of the table, making a red for the Berkey. That's 2 red, 1 from the silence, 1 from the Berkey. And it looks like we're going for the game ender here. So we'll have to see. Looks like a Ruthless Technomancer is the bid from our Dargo Timna player. Whenever it enters, you may sacrifice another creature you control. If you do create the number of tokens equal to that creature's power, which will eat Dargo. We'll continue to recast Dargo, making good amount of treasures. And we'll just have to see what our Dargo Timna player decides is the ability to keep this loop going and to be able to win here. We do have the Jolly Balloon Man in hand from the Ad Nauseam reveal, so that is a creature that has haste and has an activated ability of tap. So 3 mana left, plus the 1 for the activated ability. There is the ability to do that. And here comes Dargo, part 2. So we're going to go ahead and put Dargo back into play. And a 1 red off of the Berkey. Berkey does not care about non-creature spells. Berkey cares about spells. Looks like Deadpool text box copy. That's also a card that we knew that our C2 player had in hand. Again, same 4 mana, so doesn't change too much of the math here. So we're going to Deadpool copy the Technomancer, make a bunch of treasures for Dargo, and Dargo's power being 7, so 7 treasures there. We're going to continue sacrificing treasures and creatures to recast the Dargo, put Dargo out. We're going to make another mana with the Berkey. Well, it looks like we're going to use some amount of mana from Berkey to be able to cast a Dargo here. And it looks like we're going to keep recurring the Reckless Technomancer with its activated ability of 2 and a black, sacrifice X artifacts, return target creature card with power X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. That ability is stapled on top of Deadpool. It will go grab the original Ruthless Technomancer in the graveyard once they sacrifice 2 artifacts to continue to loop there, make some infinite mana here and there, and it looks like they're going to be drained out. With Marionette Apprentice was the shown win con. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from battlefield, each opponent loses one. So, good game. Shocked that it was able to go around the table. Our seat 2 player Dargo Timna being able to convert at 4 life there, pushing a very heavy turn. I believe that was a turn 2 win, because our seat 1 player was turn 3 when they got kind of instructed by the judge on how to resolve the board state there.